Hello guys, welcome back to this channel. Um, my name is Jude Ogbodo, and I am a current Erasmus Mundus scholar for public health in disaster. My mobility runs across Spain, Sweden, and Cyprus, and my specialization track is epidemiology and research in disaster. So I won the Erasmus Mundus scholarship last year, 2022, and today I decided to do a video on the Europass CV format. It's an important video I think I should have done earlier to help a lot of people out there. The Erasmus Mundus scholarship and many other scholarship organizations prefer to use the Europass CV. It is a standardized form of CV across the whole of Europe. The standard of formatting of the Europa CV makes it very easy for both employers and educational institutions to compare information from one candidate with another candidate. So it is very standardized and is easier. The information in Europa CV appears very clear, and the clarity makes it easy too for the employers as well as the educational institution. So because some people don't know how the Europa CV is and the format, they may be making their CVs in a traditional manner, and it becomes difficult for some employers or some educational institutions to consider them. It may even be the reason why some people are getting rejection mails. I remember making an application in 2021. I didn't use the Europa CV then, so I made the application using the normal traditional CV that I created with Word. So after submitting the CV, the program coordinator emailed me and told me that they cannot accept this type of CV, that it must be in the Europass CV, in the Europass format. That was my first time of being introduced to the Europass CV. So I started making some research about the Europass CV, and then they gave me I think 3 days for me to get my CV in the Europass format. So within that 3 days, I learned the Europass CV and then created my Europass CV and then submitted. Some people may not have the opportunity to submit to remodify their CV into the Europass format. So it's advisable you start your application, your graduate school application or employment application using the Europass CV. It is widely accepted across the European continent, even across several continents too. Yes, even in America, they accept the Europass CV because of the clarity and the standardization it brings. Okay, so in today's video, I'll be talking about the different sections of the CV, what you need to have in different sections, the information that needs to be there, and how you atomize your important skills. Okay, so if you're interested in this content, please stay back. And something else, I need you to get pen and paper so that as I'm describing some of these things, you may be writing them down. And also, even if you have had your CV done before, you can actually learn one or two things from what I'm going to explain and remodify them. Hope you know that you don't use one CV for every application. Yeah, every application you're making, you keep on remodifying your CV, keep on changing them. So it's important to understand these things. Okay, don't be very rigid with your CV. Be very flexible with it, and the flexibility, changes according to the program you're applying or according to the job you are applying. So if you're interested in this, stay back and watch till the end. Before I go, I'll be dropping the link to the Europass website on the description box. I'll also be dropping a link to a Word document that has the Europass format. You can download them. You can also register in the Europass website where you create a profile, and then you also draft your Europass CV from there. So stay tuned. So, if you have downloaded this CV format, the Europa CV format from the description box, you will notice there are different sections to it. So, I will take my time to explain some of these sections and some of the things you need to have there. The first section there is the personal information section. This personal information section is an important part of the Europa CV. You place your first name, your middle name, and your last name. Then you put some other information there, such as your address, where you are staying. It is important you put your address because they need to know where this person is coming from. So many application, both graduate school application and employment application, need to know where the candidate is residing. It's not an information you should hide from your CV. And then it's also important you also put your gender. Many people have different ideas about this, whether you want to put gender or not. But some applications actually need to do what we call gender equality or equity or balancing, as you may call it. There are certain numbers of males and certain numbers of females they want to have in their program or in their working environment. If you don't provide some of this information, it will be very difficult for them to make this decision. That is why I personally think you should include your gender. Okay, some programs will want to have maybe they have more males already in the program, and then they are looking for females to balance up the number of males in the program. If you don't include your gender there, how would they know that you are a male or female? They may not tell you this. It's not something they discuss with you. It is within the internal policy of the organization. So to me, I feel it is necessary. That is something you should put there so that if they need such information, they can find it handy in your CV. Also include nationality. Some people believe there is no need to include nationality, but then some graduate school application prefer people from a particular nationality. So if they are requesting for from people from a particular nationality and you don't include your nationality, how will they know where you are coming from? It becomes difficult. I know you will be expecting them to get this information maybe from the other aspects of the application, but your CV should have enough information to give enough details about you. So putting your nationality becomes very important. There is no need to hide it. Okay, you place your nationality there, then you move ahead. Some people have different ideas for these things, but these are my personal perspective. Okay, so put your nationality there, and then you also put your mobile phone number so that they can easily reach you, as well as your email. So in your mobile phone number, please put the international code so that they can easily reach you if there is need for it. But basically, most employers and most educational institutions will reach you via your email. It is easier for them. Okay, that's for personal information. The next section will be the section where you tell them what you are coming to do. So it will be a section of job position applied, educational position applied. Do you get? So if you're applying for an educational program, you can say educational program applied. You now write MSc Environmental and Human Health, MSc Financial Studies. If you're applying for a job, you say for the position of, you put the name of the job, maybe a senior epidemiologist or an intern. Whatever is the position you're applying for, you put it there. So immediately after your personal information, what comes next is the position you're applying for. You see why it is important that in every time you're making application, there is needs to review your CV. Okay, you're applying for position, you mention the position, especially when you're applying specifically for a position and then when you're applying for a specific program. So you include the name of the program or the name of the position there. Now let's talk about the next section, which is your education and training. The education and training is very important. It comes immediately after the position you are applying for or for the graduate school program you are going for. Why I decided to bring the education and training immediately after the position you're applying is because it tells the employer or it tells the educational institution your background. The job experience will come later, but the education and training comes immediately after the second role. You mention your degrees that you have, starting from the latest downwards. If, for example, you have a master's degree at this level, you include your master's degree, then followed by your bachelor's degree. If you have an ND, national diploma, or the higher national diploma, you include them accordingly in a chronological order, starting from the latest to the former, okay, to the oldest. So if you include them, you include the name of the institution. That is what they want to see there. The name of the institution, the course that you did there, and the degree you got there, and the length of time it took from 2014 to 2018, as the case may be. Also include the title of your thesis, okay, as well as your CGPA. It is important. One thing with the CGPA, if you have a very good CGPA, it is important to include them. But if you don't really have a very good CGPA, there is no need to include them. You can just, for if you have a second class, if you have a third class, you don't need to include your class of degree there, because it may really reduce your chances. Just tell them that you have a bachelor's degree, okay, and that's enough. But if you have a very good degree that you are very proud of, it's important to put them there, close to the degree that you earned: bachelor's of technology, bachelor of science, bachelor of arts, whatever it is, you put it there. Also, put the address of the institution and get the website of the institution. It is important. Sometimes they want to make inquiries about the institution. They may not have heard your institution at all. You just mention one institution from nowhere and they check their database. They have not seen that institution. It is easier for them to verify your institution with the website. Immediately you put the website, they go there, make inquiry, they even see the contact of the registrar or the VC or whatever. They email them just to get confirmation that this institution is actually in existence. Okay, it's very easy, it's very important. So please put the website of your educational institution there for all of them, whether you have HND, ND, whether you have bachelor's degrees, whether you have masters. Please put their website for each of them, and then put all this information I've mentioned. For the thesis, those of you that did thesis, please put the topics of your thesis for each of the degrees that you have gotten. However, if you are still in the university, you have not graduated yet, you can still include this degree you want to get in view. For example, you can say Bachelor's of Science in view, Bachelor's of Science in progress, and then include the name of the university. You can say Bachelor's of Science in brackets in view, Nnamdi Azikiwe University. You now include these other details that I mentioned earlier. Okay. Now, another important part of the Europass CV, immediately after your educational qualification, you now put in your work experience. Yeah, very, very important. Your work experience. Remember the format, it has to be in a chronological order, starting from your current position. Okay, your current position. For those of you who are still in school, maybe you are in your final year or you just graduated, you don't have much work experience. Remember, your internship is a work experience. Remember that. Okay, if you did an internship, it's a work experience. So even if you did an unpaid work, it's also a work experience. So put them there, starting from the latest to the oldest. So, and then what they want to see there is the position you occupied. After the position, the name of the organization, the address of the organization, from when to when, from May 2016 till let's say December 2016. The duration of it is very important to put that duration too. If the organization is big enough to have a website, please include it. If not, then you can forget about it. And then start itemizing what you did, not what that organization does, what you did as an individual. Okay, if you say you are, let's say, you are a research assistant or you are a sales boy, for example, then what does a sales boy do? Okay, you start itemizing them. You attend to customers, distribute goods to the customers, you attend to inquiries, and then you do balancing of accounts, something like that. If you are an intern or you are a medical lab research intern, okay, maybe you worked in a laboratory as an intern, like I did. I worked in a laboratory as an intern during my internship. So I can some of the things we did there. We collected samples from patients. We did some serological tests in the laboratory. Okay, we also clean the laboratory, make sure the laboratory is very clean. We also record results. We also distribute results within the hospital settings to the doctors who need these results to work with their patients. So these are some of the things. You will write what you did as an individual, not what the entire organization is all about. You have to be very specific and then be as brief as possible. Okay, because if you have very lengthy words in your description of the job position, your CV becomes unnecessarily very long. So if you are writing them as brief as possible, you just write assisted in carrying out serological tests assisted in doing this and that, performed so and so duty doing this. At the end of every description, you can just put you also performed miscellaneous activities as assigned by the HOD, as assigned by the head of the department, or assigned by your employer. Because certain job descriptions in certain job settings, in most job settings, you are given certain things to do that may not necessarily that you may not be able to itemize in your description. Okay, so you can cover it up with adding miscellaneous duties. Okay, you do miscellaneous duties as assigned by the head of the department, or assigned by your supervisor, or assigned by your superiors. Okay, so with this, you'll be able to itemize. Remember, itemize the most important duty you did as a person in this position in that organization. The most important. You can have like 4 or 5 job descriptions, and that's enough. Okay. Now you go to the next job that you did. So you put there. Remember, it can be paid or unpaid job. Okay. So put your position, put the name of the organization, put the length of time you spent there. If they have a website, please include them, and then itemize what you did. After the work experiences, the next section will be the language proficiency section. In this section, you're going to itemize your proficiency in the language of interest. What is the language that the program is going to be carried out on? Will it be English language or whatever? You have to itemize your proficiency in it. Include your mother tongue, then include your proficiency in English language. Okay. If you have a TOEFL result, this is where you include them. You include your proficiency in English using your TOEFL results. If you have IELTS, you include them there. They need to see it. It gives the employer or the educational institution the idea that you are very proficient in the language of interest. So they have seen your personal information, they've seen your educational background, they've seen your work experience, and then they are seeing that you are very proficient in the language of interest. Now, after you have talked about your language proficiency, the next important thing is to talk about your digital skills. Digital skills include your Microsoft Office Word experience and proficiency. You include them. If you have programming skills, you include them. Whatever thing that you know about digital work life, you include them. You also include them. You also put another section that is called the communication skills. You also tell them how good you are in communicating in English language, and you also include that you have a good interpersonal skill. It's important you also write it down. Now, some other skills you can also include there are the skills that are very relevant to the position you're applying for, or the skills that are very relevant to the educational, the master's degree program or the PhD degree program you are applying for. It is important. So there are some research skills that you may need if you're applying for an educational program. You can say you know how to use the Mendel's bibliography or referencing software, the Zotero software, and some other skills. If there are also laboratory skills that you have gotten, such as DNA, PCR, polymerase chain reaction test, if you know how to do something that are things that are very specific to the programs you are applying, whatever is the area you are applying, and you know that you have gained these skills from one place or the other, please, this is where you include them. You can call it job related skills, or you can call it research skills if you are going for an educational program. Another section that will follow it is the publications. If you're into academics and you have publication, please, this is why you include them, your publications. And when you're including your publication, you include the title, the names of the author, the name of the journal, and then you put a brief summary, 2 or 3 line summary of the paper. 2 or 3 line summary of the paper. It's important you put it. If there is a link to the paper, you can include the link to the paper there. It is very important. The summary gives the employer or the educational institution an idea about what the paper is all about. And especially what they want to see is the method that was used and the result. 3 lines and you are good to go. Okay, it gives your CV a very unique format. That's the importance of Europass CV. It gives description to most titles. You don't just write title and leave it there. You give description to your title. So the 3 line sentence or statement will give an idea to the employer or the educational system, educational institution about this particular publication. So you can do this for all of them. You can do this for if you have more than one, just do this for all the publications that you have. If you don't have a publication, you can ignore this section. Okay. Now the next section will be certification courses. Certification courses. So you can call it any name. You can call it online courses attended. You can call it certification courses. I mean, all those courses you do on Coursera and Udemy, all those online courses. This is where you itemize them. So you start from the latest to the oldest. So the newest to the oldest. That is how you itemize your online courses. When you put the title, you put the university that offered the course, you put the duration, and then give a 3 line summary of what you learned from the course. Okay, maybe you did a course on let's say basics of microscopy. So you now say this is in this course I learned how to do this and that. Specific things that you learned from the course, maximum 3 line. So it gives the reviewers an idea what the course taught you, what you gained from this course. So with that, you're also telling the reviewer that you have gained an educational training on this topic. So it also makes you a good and a better candidate too. So do this for all the online courses. Coursera courses also usually come with a link. Please include the link there so that they can go and verify if there is need for it. The next section will be what we call the projects. If you did an undergraduate program, you did thesis towards your final year, and this is where you include them. Include the title of your project or your thesis, include the name, your name and the name of your supervisor, include the duration of the study. Also, now you write a brief summary of the work that you did. This is for those who did not publish their undergraduate research project or their master's research project. Okay, if you publish them, then it should be in a section called publications. Okay, but if it was unpublished, this is where you include them as a project that you did. So you also put a summary or a description of this project. What was the topic? What was the aim? One line, and then what was the method you used, and what was the result? So maximum, you have like 3 lines. Okay, 3 line description of this project. It is very important you describe this project. So after that, if you also assisted in doing other projects in school that are academically related, this project I'm talking about, academically related projects, you also include them here. Another section you can also include in your Europass CV is the seminar, the section called seminar. Some of us during our undergraduate program, we have a seminar presentation at different times in our program. So you are given a particular topic to write about. So you go and make some literature review, put citations and referee, and put references, I mean. So you come and make presentation in a PowerPoint, and your lecturers will score and give you marks. It's part of your in-course assessment. So if you did something like this, you include the topic of the seminar topic, and then give a brief summary of the seminar presentation. Very brief, maximum 3 line. You also put the date it was done. And it's also important that you have these documents handy. Yeah, the documents of your project, since it is unpublished, you should have it handy. The documents of your seminar presentation, you also have it handy. Sometimes these organizations may request to see these documents just as a form of verification. So because they are unpublished, so they are not in the internet, so they can request that you mentioned that you did a project on this, even though it was not published. Can we have a manuscript? So you can easily send it to them as a form of confirmation. Okay. The next section you will have, you can title it honors and award. In the honors and awards section, you mention the awards that you have collected. These awards basically are academic awards. However, if you have other awards from other areas of your life, you can include them that are repeatable. You can get honors from your religious institution. You can include them. You can get honors or award from your workplace where you have worked. You can include them. If you're in a social club or a social environment or a social organization and you are given an award or an honor, please include them, include the dates and these awards we are given. It also gives the reviewer an idea of your kind of person and some of the things that you have achieved over the years. Another important part of the Europass CV is the volunteering. Volunteering are jobs that some of these jobs that you did out of free will just to gain experience, and mostly you are not paid for it. In most volunteer positions, you are not paid for it. So it's one of the best ways for fresh graduates to actually gain experience. Yeah, so I usually advise young people to take up volunteering positions, not always looking for paid positions. Volunteering position can come in handy and you can experience that you can add to your Europa CV. So if you have such experiences, please include them in the volunteering section. Include the length of time it lasted from January to December, for example. You put the date. Also itemize, also give a description of what you did in that volunteering position very briefly. Okay, some volunteering position can last for 1 week. Yeah, so some volunteering position can last for 3 weeks. Some volunteering position can even last for just one day. Okay, so it doesn't matter how long it lasts. That is why it is volunteering position. If it lasted for a very long time, then we would have included it as part of your work experience. But because of how short most volunteer positions are, then we have to put it in a section different called volunteering position. Please put a very good description of it. Okay, but if your volunteering position is long enough, let's say for about 3 months, then I think you should put it in your work experience, whether you were paid for it or not. Okay. You may be asking me what is volunteering position. For example, if there is let's say um cancer awareness program in your university and you participated to do this cancer awareness in your university, it's a volunteer position. Okay, you moved around the city to make the people become aware of what cancer is. It's part of the awareness. It's part of the volunteer position. You participated in an outreach, maybe in your church program. They organize a church program where they want to go out and tell people about their health or tell people about a societal problem. That is volunteer position. In your community, you are part of those or delegates who went around to educate people on how to do things right, on how to avoid maybe a security problem in the society. It's a volunteer position. As far as these are very short experience programs or short experience events that you participated free out of free will. You're not paid for it. Okay. So that is a volunteer program. So there are many volunteer programs, there are many volunteer positions. You may have done a lot of them. You may not actually see them as anything, but they matter a lot. They are part of community service, they are part of things we do for humanity. So if you have any of them, please include them in your CV as brief as possible with description of what you did in that position. For example, during my internship, I joined an NGO to do a kind of awareness on how to use the insecticide treated net. So we also distributed insecticide treated nets that period. So we also sensitized the locals on how to use the insecticide treated net and the importance and the need for them to use it to prevent the spread of malaria. So if you have done something close to this, it's a volunteer experience. It's a very important way of gaining experience without actually having a paid job. And the next section will be um, the conferences and the seminar. If you have attended these conferences where professionals come to discuss topics that are of interest to them, and because it is a forum of education, it's a forum of learning or hearing from those in the profession what they have been doing and what they have done, it's also important you include them in your CV. So include the title of the conference or the title of the seminar, include what you learned from the seminar. include the dates too in which the seminar was conducted or the conference lasted. Some conferences last for 3 days, some last for 2 days, and some even just for say a single day. These conferences include those that we are conducted visually as well as those that we are conducted on site. Okay, so include them. It's an important part of your Europass CV. It gives the reviewer an idea of the places you have been. So you see that if you have attended a conference in an area of interest to the reviewer, you have more points. It gives the reviewer more confidence in your competence. Okay. Another important section is the membership section. In this section, you itemize all the areas, all the organizations that you belong to. Okay, as a student, you belong to the student arm of the organization, so you should include them. You should include that organization there. Maybe you're a microbiology student, you say that you belong to the Nigerian Microbiology Society of Nigeria, if there is something like that. So I know there are so many student organizations from almost every department, so you should belong to one of them. So after graduation, you can also belong to other organizations that are professionals in your area of interest. You can go for the event and register yourself as part of their member. Being members of these organizations is also a part of your development as an individual, because you see people higher in the field within your area of interest. You see them doing things in the area of interest, and also you learn from them. It also tells the reviewer of the type of people or type of networks that you have around you. Okay, so if you're in school, or if you have just graduated and you are not a member of these associations or these groups, please, I advise you identify with them and become part of them. It's an important part of your Europa CV. It improves your chances and also improves the quality of your profile. Another section you can also include in your Europa CV is workshops. Workshops are events organized by a group of people to train some group of people within a very short period of time. Um, for example, I attended a workshop on how to do scientific writing, how to do literature review. Okay, so these are one of the workshops I attended as a person. So if you attended some workshops where they organize it, it's just like a training, maybe for 1 week, maybe for 5 days, maybe for 3 days, and they just train you on a particular topic. A workshop can be conducted just to train people on how to use the microscope. Yeah, it becomes a workshop. A workshop can be conducted on how to teach you how to handle work-related stress. Yeah, it's a kind of it's organized. It's not a. It may not be a 1 day job. It may not be a 2 day job. It lasts for sometimes up to 5 days, sometimes up to 3 days, depending on the idea behind it, depending on the content of the organizers. But the idea in a workshop is that you are brought together and you are trained on how to do a particular thing. Sometimes it goes with practicals. Okay, it goes with practicals. So even on maybe in safety management, on how to evacuate people from a building that is caught up by fire. So when you attend such workshops or such trainings, it may last for 5 days and they do some simulations. Okay, so you gain some experience through the simulation and through the workshop. So if you attended a workshop like this or an event like this, you can include them in your CV that you attended a workshop on. You mention the name of the workshop, the title, then mention the things that you learned from the workshop. Okay, and what you learn, remember the description should be maximum of 3 lines so that your CV will not be too lengthy. And then also include the dates, the beginning dates and the end dates of this workshop. Another section you can also include in your CV, just to spice it, is the leadership position. So if you have held leadership positions, you should include them in your CV. And the leadership position maybe as the president of the university union, as the president of the department union, as the course rep. You can include these positions as the financial secretary. Whatever leadership position you have held in any capacity, academically or non-academically, you should include them. Even if you held a position in your religious organization, also include it, because these positions are not easy to handle. Being a leader is not easy, so it's a quality you should portray. It's a quality you should you should put out there. You should let them know that you have been a leader in this capacity and this is what you did. So put a description of your leadership position, 2 or 3 lines of your leadership position, what you did in that position. Okay, it can actually make you stand out in your Europass CV. Yeah, so with that, we have come to the end of how to draft your Europass CV, the content and the information that should be in each section. Remember that you will be tweaking and be changing this your CV from time to time. As you're making one application, you change it. As you're making the next application, you change it. And as time goes by, you discover that you are gaining more experience. So there is need for you to always work on your CV, which is why I usually prefer and I usually advise you register at the European Union website so that you have a profile where you keep on updating your document and update your information so that you can have an updated CV every moment in time. Remember to check the description section so that you'll find the link to the Word document and also the link to the Europass website, the European Union website, where you can create a profile for yourself. Okay, you can use either of them, and but personally, I prefer you use the Europass, the European Union website to create your profile. It is easier for you to generate a new CV every time. Okay, if you have any confusion anywhere, if you don't understand any part of this video, you can drop your questions on the comment section. I'll be there to respond to you as soon as possible. Please do well to like this video, do well to share, and do well to drop a comment, either a compliment or a question. I'll be very happy to see and read it. Okay, and until the next time we see, please stay healthy, stay fine, remain focused, and keep on making your applications and keep on doing whatever you are doing to achieve your goals. Best wishes in all your endeavors. See you. Bye.